Welcome to our deep dive today. We're looking at something really fundamental, luck, maybe fate, how we perceive reality itself. Specifically, why do we get so many different explanations when something really extraordinary happens? Especially, when it's life and death. We're starting with something very recent and tragic. The Air India Flight AI171 crash, June 12, 2025, in Ahmedabad. 242 people on board, only one survived. Just one person near an exit, seat 11A. And immediately, that just raises this huge question for so many people. How? Why?
It really does. And it's not the first time, is it? It brings to mind another really profound event, Northwest Airlines Flight 255. That was back in August 1987 in Detroit. Horrific crash, 156 people died. But again, one survivor. A 4-year-old girl, Cecilia Sachan, miraculous, people said. And what's so fascinating, I think, is how these incredibly rare survivals, they spark the same universal questions. Why them? Why not the others?
Exactly. So today, we're diving into some source material that really tries to explore this mystery. We'll look at the explanations people give, the common ones, the immediate ones, and then we'll introduce a pretty intriguing new framework for maybe understanding these things that seem almost impossible. Okay, so let's unpack that initial reaction. One person survives against all odds. The first thing we ask is, how? How is that even possible? And the sources, they show this immediate flood of answers, often really personal, deeply held beliefs.
That's right. With the Air India survivor, you had people saying, oh, it was Lord Ganesha or Lord Shiva protected them or Allah's will. We also heard things about, past sins being wiped clean, or maybe God just wanted the others back sooner.
Yeah.
It's that human need to find meaning, isn't it?
It is, but it forces some really uncomfortable questions too, doesn't it? Like the author we're looking at, he asked pretty bluntly,
Yeah.
what about the other 241 people on that flight? What sin did they commit? Or their families left grieving? What sin did they do to deserve that? And then you think about Cecilia Sachan, the little girl from the 87 crash. She said in an interview, years later, she thinks about it every single day. A lifetime of, mental torture, really. Is that the kind of miracle we usually imagine? It's complex.
It really pushes you to look closer, doesn't it? And the source material, it doesn't just stick to these huge tragedies. It shares some personal stories, too, that kind of highlight how we assign meaning all the time to big things and small things.
Yeah, there's this one story the author tells that really makes you think. It happened on the same day as that 1987 Detroit crash. His wife got stung by a honeybee, just a bee sting. But it meant they left this festival early. And because they left early, they ended up driving on the I-94 highway where the crash happened. But after it happened, they only found out when they got home.
Wow.
And their immediate thought, God saved us. That detour, that bee sting, it became divine intervention in their minds.
That's such a powerful example, isn't it? How quickly we weave these personal narratives.
And the author points out, it's not just these dramatic life or death moments. Think about everyday things. You take a right turn, get where you need to go. You take a left, hit a huge traffic jam, or worse, an accident. Did God steer your wheel? Was that turn predetermined? It's the same kind of question, just on a smaller scale.
Right, and that really highlights this fundamental split, doesn't it? The one between, say, theists who might see a divine hand in everything, a predetermination, and then scientists or atheists who would look at it and say, well, that's random chance, or the draw of luck, maybe cause and effect based on prior decisions.
Yeah, that tension is always there.
And to bring it down to earth even more, the source gives another example. Something really mundane. Finding clover mites, tiny little bugs on a deck. So
Okay.
finding the mites leads to a plan. Okay, we need to wash the deck, which means opening an outside water valve. But, that valve inside the basement was leaky, hadn't been used in a while. So turning it on leads to a basement flood. Big mess, repairs, expense.
Ah, right. Not exactly divine intervention territory, is it?
Not intuitively, no. It starts with a bug, ends with a plumbing bill. It forces you to think, well, maybe there are other ways events just unfold, based on physical causes.
So how do we reconcile all this? The miracles, the bee stings, the leaky valves. This is where the author brings in this out-of-box idea, as he calls it. So from his book, Physical Universe, Virtual God. And that title, Virtual God, is key. It suggests something about us, our minds.
Exactly. The core idea is that there are two independent realities operating. First, you've got the internal physical universe. It's just there. Always has been, according to this theory. It runs on its own steam, governed by the laws of physics. It doesn't need a creator or an operator.
So plane crashes, leaky valves, weather patterns, tornadoes, that's all the physical universe doing its thing.
Precisely. It's objective. Like watching a movie, everyone in the cinema sees the same images on the screen. Physics can explain it, science can measure it, a thermometer gives you a temperature, it's the same number for everyone looking at it. Objective data.
Okay, makes sense. Physical reality. What's the second one?
The second one is the virtual inner world. And this one isn't out there, it's in here. It's created by our senses, by our brains. It's distinct from the physical world.
How so?
Well, a physical event happens, like that plane crash, but then it gets recreated inside the mind of everyone who perceives it. And each person gives it a different meaning, a different flavor. Think about like putting 1 teaspoon of sugar in tea. For one person, it's barely sweet. For another, it's just right. For someone else, maybe too sweet. Same physical sugar, different internal experience.
Ah, I see. So my inner world is my reality. Your inner world is yours?
Ugh.
We're all in our own little universes, kind of?
That's the idea. It's the only world we can actually know for sure exists for us. And this is where, the author argues, all the wonder happens, where things become important, useful, meaningful to us.
And it's different from the physical world in another way, too, right? Like, it appears and disappears.
Yeah. Exactly. The physical universe is just always there. But your inner world, it springs into existence when you experience something, see something, hear something, feel something. And when you stop experiencing it, or, when consciousness ends, that inner world vanishes.
Wow. Yeah, the rules are different, too.
Totally different. Physical objects follow physics, gravity, momentum, all that. But the objects in our virtual inner world, our thoughts, feelings, memories, the image of a tree in our mind, they aren't bound by physics at all. They can morph, change, connect in ways physical objects can't.
So this framework, it leads to a pretty radical conclusion about who the creator is, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that living creatures, through this act of perception and interpretation, are the true creators of their perceived world. In a way, we become the gods of our internal world, constantly shaping and molding that reality, the one that matters most to us.
Okay, let's dig into that a bit more. How is this virtual inner world actually made, fabricated? You gave the sugar example. What about something like seeing a tree?
Right. So you look at a tree, physical light rays bounce off the physical tree and to your eyes. Your brain processes that raw data height with color, branches, leaves, and then pop. A tree is sort of born in your mind's eye.
But it's not the actual tree.
Exactly. The author stresses this. It's a representation, a whole new creation based on the data your brain gathered. It's your version of the tree, existing only in your inner world.
And that applies to everything. Taste, smell, pain.
Everything we experience internally, the creamy taste of ice cream, the scent of a rose, that ache in your shoulder, the experience of it is unique to your inner world. We're all these mini creators constantly building our own subjective realities. Mini gods, as the author puts it.
And this view. It helps explain why science sometimes hits a wall, doesn't it, when it comes to those really deep human questions.
Precisely. Things like the meaning of life, happiness, morality, beauty, suffering, compassion, hope, love, all that stuff.
Good and bad, right and wrong, pain, purpose, the feeling of existence itself.
Right. All of these concepts, the author argues, they don't belong to the external, physical universe that science measures. They belong exclusively to our virtual inner worlds.
So you can't find love under a microscope or measure hope with a ruler?
Exactly. They are constructs of our inner reality, profoundly real to us, but not physical objects or forces out there in the universe.
This also helps clarify some common mix-ups, maybe.
Yes, the source points out a big one, trying to apply the rules of one world to the other. For example, some people claim consciousness is somehow necessary for quantum mechanics to work, or that quantum mechanics can fully explain consciousness.
But this theory would say those are different domains.
Completely different domains. Physics explains the physical. It's incredibly powerful there. But physics theories, even quantum mechanics, they can't tell a judge how to sentence someone. They can't unlock the secrets of happiness or empathy. They can't even directly ease your shoulder pain, though understanding the physical cause might lead to a physical treatment.
So pain itself, the feeling of pain, is inner world.
The subjective experience of it, yes. The signals, the nerves, the tissue damage, that's physical. But the ouch, the suffering, that's created in the virtual inner world. Different rules apply.
Okay, connecting this back. Our experience of this inner world is totally subjective, while the physical world is objective. You used the apple and candy analogy earlier.
Right. Eat a bunch of candy, then bite into an apple. That apple just won't taste as sweet as it normally would.
The physical apple hasn't changed.
Nope. But your internal reference point, your virtual inner world's perception of sweetness, has shifted. Goodness, sweetness, maybe even levels of pain. It's
Yeah.
all relative to our internal state.
Like going to a concert with a friend. Same sound waves hit both your ears.
Exactly. Same external physical event.
Yeah.
But your internal experience, totally subjective. Maybe you love the band, you're buzzing, feeling euphoric. Your friend might be tired, hate the music, feel overwhelmed and drained. Same concert, vastly different inner realities.
It's like our brains are running personalized movie screenings.
That's a great way to put it.
And this relativity, it even applies to the same person, just at different times or different places,
Yeah.
right? The source had some cool examples.
Yeah, very interesting ones. Like we mentioned the candy and apple changing the taste, or epilepsy patients statistically have more seizures when they're comfortable at home compared to the sterile, perhaps more stressful environment of a hospital lab. The inner state affects the physical manifestation.
Huh. And blood pressure, too. Different at home versus the doctor's office. White coat syndrome.
Classic example, the physical body reacts differently based on the perceived environment, the inner world's interpretation.
And the spider example. An arachnophobe might perceive a spider as huge, terrifying, house-sized almost.
Well, someone else sees a tiny, harmless bug. Same physical spider, radically different virtual spiders created in their minds.
And the last one, maybe the most universal. Children are always cutest to their own mothers.
Right, that perception is shaped by love, connections, powerful forces within the virtual inner world. It's not an objective assessment of cuteness based on physical features alone.
So the bottom line, according to this theory, is that the world we really care about, the one that fascinates us, motivates us, gives life meaning. It's the inner one.
That's the core argument. The virtual inner world is where the action is for us as conscious beings. And therefore, the creator that really matters in this context is the one shaping that world, our own minds, our own perceptions.
And the external physical universe.
In this model, it's just assumed to have always existed, operating under its own laws. So the need for a creator god for that realm kind of dissolves or becomes unnecessary for explaining our experience.
Okay. So bringing it all back to the plane crashes, Ahmedabad, Detroit. This two realities view helps explain why you get such wildly different explanations for the exact same physical event.
Precisely. Everyone is viewing that objective physical event, the crash, through the unique lens of their own virtual inner world. That world is shaped by their upbringing, their culture, their religion, their personal experiences, their fears, their hopes, everything.
So one person sees divine intervention, another sees random chance, another sees mechanical failure, another sees past karma playing out.
And because no two virtual inner worlds are identical, no two explanations will be truly identical either. They're all interpretations generated within those subjective realities.
And crucially, the author says no one is necessarily right or wrong.
In their internal explanation, yes. That's a key point. What you believe, what you think within your virtual inner world has a real impact on that world. It can change how you feel, how you perceive things next. It can even trigger physical changes in your body and brain through psychosomatic effects.
Which provides a basis for things like faith healing or placebo effects or just the comfort people find in their spiritual beliefs.
Exactly. Those experiences are rooted in the power of our virtual beliefs, shaping our inner and sometimes even our physical state. It's virtual faith having real consequences within our personal reality.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you listening to this? We've gone pretty deep into this question. Why do we explain shocking events like a plane crash with just one survivor in so many different ways? We saw how different worldviews, spiritual, scientific, they all try to make sense of it.
And we introduced this really different idea, two realities, the objective physical universe out there, and then our subjective personal virtual inner worlds created by our minds and senses, and the idea that while the physical world runs on physics, our inner world where meaning, emotion, purpose live operates by its own rules, free from those physical limits.
Well, understanding that difference.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key. The key to understanding why, when we face life's biggest mysteries or even just everyday disagreements, there's never just one single answer that satisfies everyone.
Yeah. So maybe think about this. When you bump up against really different viewpoints or beliefs that seem totally alien to you, how might remembering this distinction between the shared physical world and the unique inner worlds we all inhabit change how you approach that? How you try to connect or find empathy, even when you don't agree? Something to think about.